An island off the west of Ireland, cottage kitchen with nets, oilskins, spinning wheel, some new boards standing by the wall, etc. Kathleen, a girl of about 20, finishes kneading cake and puts it down in a pot oven by the fire, then wipes her hands and begins to spin at the wheel. Nora, a young girl, puts her head in at the door.
Where is she?
She's lying down, God help her, and maybe sleeping if she's able.
Nora comes in softly and takes a bundle from under her shawl.
What is't you have?
The young priest is after bringing them. It's a shirt and a plain stocking where I got off a drowned man in Donegal.
Kathleen stops her wheel with a sudden movement and leans out to listen.
We're to find out if it's Michael's they are. Sometime ourselves be down looking by the sea.
How could they be Michael's, Nora? How would he go the length of that way to the far north?
The young priest says he's known the like of it. If it's Michael's they are, says he, you can tell herself he's got a clean burial by the grace of God. And if they're not his, let no one say a word about them, for she'll be getting her death, says he, with crying and lamenting.
The door, which Nora half closed, is blown open by a gust of wind.
Did you ask him would he stop Bartley going this day with horses to the Galway fair?
I won't stop him, says he, but let you not be afraid. Herself does be saying prayers half through the night, and the Almighty God won't leave her destitute, says he, with no son living.
Is the sea bad by the White Rocks, Nora?
Middling bad, God help us. There's a great roaring in the west, and it's worse it'll be getting when the tides turn to the wind. Shall I open it now?
Maybe she'd wake up on us and come in before we're done. It's a long time we'll be, and the two of us crying.
She's moving about on the bed. She'll be coming in a minute.
Give me the ladder, and I'll put them up in the turf lock. That way she won't know of them at all. And maybe when the tide turns, she'll be going down to see would he be floating from the east.
They put the ladder against the gable of the chimney. Kathleen goes up a few steps and hides the bundle in the turf loft. Maria comes from the inner room.
Isn't it turf enough you have for this day and evening?
There's a cake baking at the fire for a short space, and Bartley would want it when the tide turns if he goes to Connemara.
Nora picks up the turf and puts it round the pot oven.
He won't go this day with the wind rising from the south and west. He won't go this day, for the young priest will stop him surely.
You'll not stop him, mother. And I heard even in Simon Stephen Feety and Colm Sean say he would go.
Where is he himself?
He went down to see will there be another boat sailing in the week. And I'm thinking it won't be long till he's here now, for the tide's turning at the Green Head, and the hookers tacking from the east.
I hear someone passing the big stones.
He's coming now, and he in a hurry.
Where's the bit of new rope, Kathleen? Was bought in Connemara.
Oh, give it to him, Nora. It's on a nail by the white boards. I hung it up this morning, for the pig with the black feet was eating it.
Is that it, Bartley?
You do right to leave that rope, Bartley, hanging by the boards. It will be wanting in this place, I'm telling you, if Michael is washed up tomorrow morning or the next morning or any morning in the week, for it's a deep grave we'll make him by the grace of God.
I've no halter the way I can ride down on the mare, and I must go now quickly. This is the one boat going for 2 weeks or beyond it, and the fare will be a good fare for the horses, I heard them saying below.
It's a hard thing they'll be saying below if the body is washed up and there's no man to make the coffin, and I, after giving a big price for the finest white boards you'd find in Connemara.
She looks round at the boards.
How would it be washed up, and we after looking each day for 9 days, and a strong wind blowing a while back from the west and south?
If it wasn't found itself, that wind is raising the sea, and there was a star up against the moon, and it rising in the night. If it was 100 horses or 1,000 horses you had itself, What is the price of 1,000 horses against a sun where there is one sun only?
Let you go down each day and see the sheep aren't jumping in on the rye. And if the dropper comes, you can sell the pig with the black feet if there's a good price going.
How would the like of her get a good price for a pig?
If the west wind holds with the last bit of the moon, let you and Nora get up wheat enough for another cock for the kelp. Its hard set will be from this day with no one in it but one man to work.
Its hard set will be surely the day you're drowned with the rest. What way will I live and the girls with me and I an old woman looking for a grave?
Bartley lays down the halter, takes off his old coat, and puts on a newer one of the same flannel.
Is she coming to the pier?
She's passing the green head and let all sails.
I'll have half an hour to go down, and you'll see me come in again in 2 days, or in 3 days, or maybe in 4 days if the wind is bad.
Isn't it a hard and cruel man won't hear a word from an old woman, and she hiding him from the sea?
It's the life of a young man to be going to the sea, and who would listen to an old woman with one thing and she's saying it over?
I must go now quickly. I'll ride down on the red mare, and the gray pony will run behind me. The blessing of God on you.
He goes out.
He's gone now, God spare us, and we'll not see him again. He's gone now, and when the black night is falling, I'll have no son left me in the world.
Why wouldn't you give him your blessing and he looking round in the door? Isn't it sorrow enough it is on everyone in this house without your sending him out with an unlucky word behind him and a hard word in his ear?
Moria takes up the tongs and begins raking the fire aimlessly without looking round.
You're taking away the turf from the cake?
The Son of God forgive us! Nora, we're after forgetting his bit of bread.
She comes over to the fire.
If it's destroyed, he'll be going till dark night. And he, after eating nothing since the sun went up.
It's destroyed will be, surely. There's no sense left on any person in a house when an old woman will be talking forever.
Moria sways herself on her stool.
Let you go down now to the spring well and give him this, and he passing, and you'll see him then the dark word will be broken, and you can say, God speed you, the way he'll be easy in his mind.
Will I be in it as soon as himself?
If you go now quickly.
It's hard set I am to walk.
Give her the stick, Nora, or maybe she'll slip on the big stones.
What stick?
The stick Michael brought from Connemara.
In the big world, the old people do not be leaving things after them for their sons and children, but in this place it is the young men do be leaving things for them that do be old.
She goes out slowly. Nora goes over to the ladder.
Wait, Nora. Maybe she'd turn back quickly. She's that sorry, God help her. You wouldn't know the things she'd do.
She gone around by the bush.
She's gone now. Throw it down quickly, for the Lord knows when she'll be out of it again.
The young priest said he'd be passing tomorrow, and we might go down and speak to him below if it's Michael's, they surely.
Did he say what way they were found?
There were 2 men, says he, and they were rowing round with poteen before the cocks crowed, and the oar of one of them caught the body, and they passing the black cliffs of the north.
Give me the knife, Nora. The string's perished with the salt water, and there's a black knot in it you wouldn't loosen in a week.
I've heard tell it was a long way to Donegal.
There was a man in here a while ago, the man that sold us that knife, and he said, if you set off walking from the rocks beyond, it would be 7 days you'd be in Donegal.
How what time would a man take? And he floating.
Kathleen opens the bundle and takes out a bit of a stocking. They look at them eagerly.
The Lord spare us, Nora. Isn't it a queer, hard thing to say if this is his, surely?
I'll get his shirt off the hook, the way we can put the one flannel on the other. It's not with them, Kathleen. And where will it be?
I'm thinking Bartley put it on him in the morning, for his own shirt was heavy with the salt in it. There's a bit of a sleeve was of the same stuff. Give me that, and it will do.
Nora brings it to her, and they compare the flannel.
It's the same stuff, Nora. But if it is of itself, aren't there great rolls of it in the shops of Galway? And isn't it many another man who will have a shirt of it as well as Michael himself?
It's Michael, Kathleen. It's Michael. God spare his soul, and what will herself say when she hears this story? Him and Bartley on the sea.
It's a plain stocking.
It's the second one of the third pair I knitted, and I put 70 stitches, and I dropped 4 of them.
It's that numbers in it. Oh, Nora, isn't it a bitter thing to think of him floating that way to the far north and no one to keep him but the black hags that do be flying on the sea?
And is it a pitiful thing when there is nothing left of a man who was a great rower and fisher, but a bit of an old shirt and a plain stocking?
Tell me, is herself coming, Nora? I hear a little sound on the path.
She is, Kathleen. She's come to the door.
Put these things away before she'll come in. Maybe it's easier she'll be after giving her blessing to Bartley, and we won't let on we've heard anything until the time he's on the sea.
We'll put them here in the corner.
They put them into a hole in the chimney corner. Kathleen goes back to the spinning wheel.
Will she see it was crying I was?
Keep your back to the door, the way the light'll not be on you.
Nora sits down at the chimney corner with her back to the door. Maria comes in very slowly, without looking at the girls, and goes over to her stool at the other side of the fire. The cloth with the bread is still in her hand. The girls look at each other, and Nora points to the bundle of bread.
You didn't give him his bit of bread?
Maria begins to keen softly without turning round.
Did you see him riding down?
Maria goes on keening.
God forgive you. Isn't it a better thing to raise your voice and tell what you've seen than to be making lamentation for a thing that's done? Did you see Bartley? I'm saying to you.
My heart's broken from this day.
Did you see Bartley?
I seen the fearfulest thing.
God forgive you. He's riding the mare now over the green head and the grey pony behind him.
The grey pony behind him.
What is it ails you at all?
I've seen the fearfulest thing any person has seen since the day Bride seen the dead man with the child in his arms.
Oh!
They crouch down in front of the old woman at the fire.
Tell us what it is you've seen.
I went down to the spring well, and I stood there saying a prayer to myself. Then Bartley came along, and he was riding on the red mare with the grey pony behind him. The Son of God spare us, Nora.
What is it you've seen?
I seen Michael himself.
You did not, Mother. It wasn't Michael you seen, for his body is after being found in the far north, and he's got a clean burial by the grace of God.
I'm after seeing him this day, and he riding and galloping. Bartley came first on the red mare, and I tried to say, God speed you, but something choked the words in my throat. He went by quickly. And the blessing of God on you, says he. And I could say nothing. I looked up then, and I crying at the grey pony. and there was Michael upon it, with fine clothes on him and new shoes on his feet.
It's destroyed we are from this day. It's destroyed, surely.
Didn't the young priest say the Almighty God would leave her destitute with no son living?
It's little the like of him knows the sea. Bartley will be lost now. And let you call in Eamon and make me a good coffin out of the white boards, for I won't live after them. I've had a husband and a husband's father and 6 sons in this house. 6 fine men, though it was a hard birth. I had with every one of them, and they coming to the world, and some of them were found, and some of them were not found. But they're gone now, the lot of them. There were Stephen and Sean, were lost in the great wind, and found after in the Bay of Gregory of the Golden Mouth, and carried up the 2 of them on the one plank, and in by that door.
She pauses for a moment. The girls start as if they heard something through the door that is half open behind them.
Did you hear that, Kathleen? Did you hear a noise in the northeast?
There's someone after crying out by the seashore.
There was Seamus and his father, and his own father again, were lost in a dark night. And not a stick or sign was seen of them when the sun went up. There was Patch after was drowned out of a curragh that I turned over. I was sitting here with Bartley, and he a baby lying on my 2 knees, and I seen 2 women, and 3 women, and 4 women coming in. And they crossing themselves and not saying a word. I looked out then, and there were men coming after them, and they holding a thing in the half of a red sail, and water dripping out of it. It was a dry day, Nora, leaving a track to the door.
She pauses again with her hand stretched out towards the door. It opens softly and old women begin to come in, crossing themselves on the threshold and kneeling down in front of the stage with red petticoats over their heads.
Is it Patch or Michael, or what is it at all?
Michael is after being found in the far north, and when he is found, there, how could he be in here, in this place?
There does be a power of young men floating around in the sea, and what way would they know if it was Michael they had, or another man like him? For when a man is 9 days in the sea and the wind blowing, it's hard set his own mother would be to say what man it was.
It's Michael, God spare him, for they're after sending us a bit of his clothes from the far north.
She reaches out and hands Moria the clothes that belong to Michael. Moria stands up slowly and takes them in her hands. Nora looks out.
They're carrying a thing among them, and there's water dripping out of it and leaving a track by the big stones.
Is it Bartley it is? Is it Bartley it is?
Two younger women come in and pull out the table. Then men carry in the body of Bartley, lay it on a plank with a bit of sail over it, and lay it on the table.
What way was he drowned?
The great pony knocked him into the sea, and he was washed out where there is a great surf on the white rocks.
Moria has gone over and knelt down at the head of the table. The women are keening softly and swaying themselves with a slow movement. Kathleen and Nora kneel at the other end of the table. The men kneel near the door.
They're all gone now, and there isn't anything more the sea can do to me. I'll have no call now to be up crying and praying when the wind breaks from the south. And you can hear the surf is in the east and the surf is in the west, making a great stir with the two noises, and they hitting one on the other. I'll have no call now to be going down and getting holy water in the dark nights after Samain. And I won't care what way the sea is when the other women will be keening. Give me the holy water, Nora. There's a small sup still on the dresser.
Nora gives it to her.
It isn't that I haven't prayed for you, Bartley, to the Almighty God. It isn't that I haven't said prayers in the dark night till you wouldn't know what I'd be saying. But it's a great rest I'll have now, and it's time, surely. It's a great rest I'll have now, and great sleeping in the long nights after Samain. If it's only a bit of wet flour we do have to eat, and maybe a fish that would be stinking.
She kneels down again, crossing herself, and saying prayers under her breath.
Maybe yourself and Eamon would make a coffin when the sun rises. We have fine white boards herself bought. God help her, thinking Michael would be found, and I have a new cake you can eat while you'll be working.
Are there nails with them?
There are not, Colum. We didn't think of the nails.
It's a great wonder she wouldn't think of the nails. And all the coffins she's seen made already.
It's getting old, she is, and broken.
Moria stands up again very slowly and spreads out the pieces of Michael's clothes beside the body, sprinkling them with the last of the holy water.
She's quiet now, and easy. The day Michael was drowned, you could hear her crying out from this spring well. It's fonder she was of Michael, and would anyone have thought that?
An old woman will soon be tired with anything she will do. And isn't it 9 days herself is after crying and keening and making great sorrow in the house?
They're all together this time, and the end is come. May the Almighty God have mercy on Bartley's soul and on Michael's soul, and the souls of Seamus and Patch and Stephen and Sean. And may he have mercy on my soul, Nora, and on the soul of everyone who's left living in the world.
She pauses, and the keen rises a little more loudly from the women, then sinks away.
Michael has a clean burial in the far north by the grace of the Almighty God. Bartley will have a fine coffin out of the White Woods and a deep grave, surely. What more can we want than that? No man at all can be living forever, and we must be satisfied.
She kneels down again, and the curtain falls slowly.
A corner of the lobby of the Poinciana Hotel, Palm Beach, showing wicker chairs with cretonne cushions, sheltered by palms. From the distance come faint strains of an orchestra. Mrs. Poindexter enters, looking for a comfortable chair. She pulls the chairs about until she has placed them to suit herself. Mrs. Poindexter's face is wrinkled, but there is little sign of age in her worldly, humorous eyes, her vibrant personality. She wears a doll collar of diamonds. Her white hair is perfectly marcelled. She uses a diamond-studded lorgnette and carries a large hotel room key. She has the authority of a leader. Mrs. Dorchester follows Mrs. Poindexter. She also chooses a chair to suit herself. She is a sweet, placid-faced woman with a rosy complexion of one who has lived without hurry on a country estate. She wears eyeglasses. She is rather too overladen with old-fashioned jewelry. She carries a bag which contains her knitting and which she begins to pull out as soon as she is comfortably seated.
There was no need for us to hurry through dinner, Agnes. There are plenty of chairs.
We missed our chance last night because you lingered over your coffee.
I always linger over my coffee. I always lingered with Thomas before he went. Our family has always lingered over the coffee.
But in another moment, there would not have been a chair vacant. Which one do you prefer?
I put aside one for Mrs. Blanchard in that corner over there. Nodded her in this direction as we left the dining room.
She will like this corner. We can see everyone who crosses the lobby.
Oh, yes. How many sights and how many frights will we see tonight? Oh, Agnes, I wish you would get rid of that old-fashioned jewelry. Well, why don't you turn in all that junk and get something new and fashionable?
Oh, I've never had any desire to buy jewelry since my husband died.
Oh, but that was ages ago. I have had all my diamonds reset. I even had my wedding ring melted down and remolded into an orange wreath.
There's that young bride who arrived today.
Where? Where?
Over there near the fountain in a very low gown.
I don't see her.
She moved behind the column.
Oh, I can't see her. Why didn't you tell me before the column got in the way?
Phoebe, if you were not so vain, you would wear decent glasses like mine.
Indeed, I can see perfectly well.
Well, I don't blame you for using your lorgnette. It does add distinction to your Poindexter manner.
Are you still impressed by my manner?
I have been for 50 years. Dear me, Phoebe, is it really 50 years since you and I were debutantes?
Shh! Don't let the hotel know that I'm 70.
No one guesses it.
Oh, I certainly don't feel it. But let me tell you, these young debutantes with their supercilious airs, their sophisticated conversation, their smoking in public places, are not going to crowd me into a grandmother's corner. No, I shall live another 20 years at least, if only to see these young things grow into the troubles of married life, and it will please me.
Why have you such animosity toward the debutantes? You terrorize them. Everywhere they sidestep for you, in elevators, corridors, in the ballroom, on the beach. They put themselves out to be deferential to you. It's good morning, Mrs. Poindexter. Good afternoon, Mrs. Poindexter. Good evening, Mrs. Poindexter. But they never see me, even though we have both been here since the opening of the season.
It is because you don't create the atmosphere which demands their attention. I am putting on all the Poindexter airs I can think of to terrorize them. I want to make the debutantes and their smart young men sidestep for me. Their youth and prettiness may no longer be mine, but I hold over them the whip hand. I am a dowager, a member of the society that once ruled New York and does still to a certain extent. And they shall bow to me as long as I inhale one breath of life.
I do believe you are jealous of the present generation.
I am fiercely jealous.
But we've had our own day, Phoebe. It's their turn. It's our time to sit back and give them a chance.
Agnes, you have kept your health living on your Long Island estate. But you have watched the inevitable drying up of flowers and leaves in autumn, and you've followed what seems to you the inevitable progress of autumn into winter. Well, my hair may be white as snow, but my blood is still red.
Your vitality is a marvel to everyone. Your club work, civic and social leadership make even the doctors amazed at you.
Well, the doctors are my worst enemies. They tell me I must not eat this, I must not do that. They tell me I'm getting old, that I must rest. I do not wish to rest. I simply won't grow old. When one has been a leader, one does not let younger women usurp one's position.
You still have your leadership.
Oh, Agnes, I have it because I will have it, because I will not let it go. But I have to strive harder for it every year. Every year I must grow more imperious, more dominating, more terrorizing, to hold supremacy over this new independent generation. Oh, my goodness. Oh, there's
What?
little May Wiggum. She is 18 and so rude. I should just like to spank her.
They all fear you, Phoebe.
Well, I should hope so. I shall not be pushed into a corner as long as I still draw one breath of life.
Good evening, Mrs. Blanchard.
Oh, we've kept a chair for you.
Mrs. Blanchard enters. She is thin, a trifle bent with age, and needs a walking cane. It is gold-topped, and suspended on it is a gold mesh bag. She carries a book. Her face is like a cameo, scarcely a wrinkle in it, and her smile is illuminatingly young. She wears a diamond necklace.
Good evening, Mrs. Payne Dexter. Mrs. Dorchester?
Sit down, Mrs. Blanchard.
Oh, no, thank you. Do not help me. I am about to throw it away.
Throw your cane away?
Oh, yes, I'm not going to need it in a week or so.
I heard of a woman the other day who dispensed with her cane.
Who was it?
That golf champion. What's her name? She's over there. The one with the burnt V on her chest.
Ooh.
She told me all about a case, but dear me, I can never remember names.
I shall have to ask her about it. Yes, indeed.
Are you getting stronger, Mrs. Blanchard?
I must get stronger. I am tired of depending upon a cane. Everywhere I go, people are putting themselves out to help me. Men help me. Women send their men to help me. Chauffeurs help me. Bellboys help me. Waiters help me. Debutantes help me.
Debutantes? Scarcely believe it.
The debutantes hop around like so many little sandflies, irritating, all of them wanting to help me to walk. I feel like swatting them with this. Their politeness is an insult to my infirmity. If they would only just be rude.
Mrs. Payne Dexter was just complaining that they were too rude.
Rude? They are.
If they are rude to you, of course it's nothing but a compliment. They do not look upon you as old and decrepit. I resent their solicitude. In a day or two, I shall throw this old thing away.
Blanchard!
It's no idle threat. I do mean it.
But you told me you had used it 15 years.
Oh, so I have, and it is old enough to throw away. It is the oldest leg I have, and it is going to be thrown away.
Oldest?
What? Are you doubting?
My dear Mrs. Blanchard, you just said your cane is the oldest leg you have.
Oh, but so it is.
Mrs. Dorchester is wondering exactly how old the others are.
Oh, they're not more than exactly 9 months.
9 months?
Do you think I should say 90 years?
Isn't it a little nearer to the truth?
Oh, but it's not the truth. The wonderful truth is that my legs are not 71 years old. They are not more than 9 months old, and I have been reading an amazing book.
What is it?
Ruth and you.
This book says that every cell in our body is completely new.
I heard about that. My daughter was reading a book about that. I forget what it was called.
Each cell reproduces itself according to the impression given to it by our subconscious mind. As we grow old, we hold a thought of age that impresses our cells with that thought. But if we rid ourselves of the illusion of old age, we can remain ever young.
Oh, let me have this book. I would pay a fortune for youth.
Oh, we do not have to pay for youth. We just have to think it and be it. It is very simple, they say, when you have faith.
What was that book my daughter was reading? Dear, dear, I can never remember names, titles, numbers.
Too much wool, Agnes. I tell you, you're getting old.
Oh, no, she does not look it.
Her mind is 150 years old.
Not quite. I've had too many financial matters to attend to since my husband died to let me slip too far behind the times. But I believe in accepting old age with as good a grace as possible.
Rubbish! That is antediluvian. I am just beginning to learn how to live. Do you know that I have just obtained my divorce?
Have you divorced Mr. Blanchard after all these years?
Oh, yes, after all these years. I suppose you know the story of my life. It was nationally commented upon. My daughter, she married the Duke of Cambrai.
Oh, my St. Louis friends often mentioned you. It is why I was so interested in meeting you here this season. When my husband was alive, he used to hear things in the clubs.
Oh, no doubt he did. My husband was notoriously unfaithful to me. I grieved about it for more than 40 years, and I never had the sense to get rid of him. Never had the courage until now. But now it is all as clear as day to me. If I have been a fool for 40 years, must I stay a fool forever? No. I kicked over the traces with my wooden leg, and I am a free woman.
How odd to think of your willfully giving up your husband when we widows so wish ours back again.
Did your husband contest it?
Oh, my husband was amazed, of course. Indignant. He writes me imploring letters. He is old now and ready to settle down. Now when he is ready to sit before the fireplace and watch me knit, I have played a trick on him. I would rather play roulette than knit. By the way, I gambled away $300 last night.
We left early.
Oh, that is at midnight.
We rode around a bit before coming in. It was so balmy, and I just love to ride in the chairs.
I suppose it was not quite the thing for two lone women to ride around in the moonlight at midnight, but the waiter said everyone does it at Palm Beach.
It was very romantic.
Oh, there's romance in every breeze through the palm trees.
Oh, I didn't come back to the hotel until morning. I stayed on and played all night. I had breakfast there, came home, got a ring on my finger, handed them over to security as a friend. Oh, he thought it was funny to take them.
We missed you on the beach this morning.
Well, I slept until luncheon. I'm not going back tonight, I am, to win my rings again. I'm starting with 500 tonight.
Before you know it, you will have gambled a fortune away.
I'm not worrying. I received an amazingly high alimony. The court figured I would not live long and that I needed much medical care. Well, I'm not paying out any money, not one penny for medical care. And when it comes to having a good time, I am making up for 40 years. Alas, I only found one man in my whole life whom I really, really loved. And he was not my husband. Be shocked if you want to. I am free now, and I can speak of it to whoever I want to.
What happened?
Sadly, I have never known what happened to him.
I can't imagine what it must be not to love one's husband. I miss mine so.
I had been married only 4 months when I heard of my husband's infatuation for a married woman in our very own set. I should have divorced him then and there, but I was very young, and it wasn't being done in those days. In those hours of my disillusion, a dashing young lieutenant, he came to my help and planned to arouse my husband's jealousy and so bring him back to me. That was the plan.
Phoebe, stop fuddling with your door key. It gets on my nerves.
He did indeed succeed in arousing my husband's jealousy, but meanwhile, I had fallen in love with the lieutenant.
And he with you, no doubt.
Oh, yes.
Mrs. Blanchard, it is a life tragedy, but not a line of it shows in your face.
Oh, thank you. I wouldn't let it show in my face. I harbored a secret thought, a terrible thought, that my husband might die, that I might be free to find the other again, and then he should not see an old wrinkled face after he had cherished the memory of my beautiful youth.
Think of living like that all these years, when you might have had a divorce long ago.
It's humorous, isn't it, that when women like you and Mrs. Dorchester are widowed, I had to put up with a husband who just would not die.
What became of the lieutenant?
Oh, he asked to be transferred to another post. He wanted to go far away from me, as far away as possible. But no distance seemed far enough to break the magnetic attraction between us. Finally, he was sent as far away as China. And there, we lost track of him in the Boxer Rebellion.
And you never heard from him again?
No. The government reported him as missing. No doubt the Chinese took him as prisoner. If he died, and I think he must have died all these years, I have imagined that he died. I have felt his spirit near me, guiding me, watching over me.
Do you believe he could be near you? I don't believe that my husband is. I sit and I knit and I think of him, but the beyond seems nothing but void and silence.
Well, I believe in believing in anything that helps you.
I can't get into communication.
Oh, I know Oliver Trent has never forgotten me. If he had lived or escaped, Oliver would have surely found me. I know Oliver died and that his spirit has been lovingly near me all these many decades.
My husband and I loved each other deeply. That love, it seems to me, should hold us together even after he's gone. But I can't believe that it does.
It does, and it will if you have faith. There is nothing but love. I am beginning to feel it. For a long while, I tried to make myself believe it. For a long while, I could only think it. But now, I'm beginning to feel it deep down inside from within me, to realize it. And I feel warm all through. Oh, I shall put aside my ancient leg.
Of course he loved you. I am sure he did.
If he were only alive now that you have your divorce.
Well, so you see, my romance is only a shadow, only a thought. There is nothing tangible. I dare keep no letters, not one single token of his, only my thoughts. But these thoughts, they have kept me from going to pieces all these years.
And the thoughts have kept your face so young.
I would not let my face change if by some miracle I should see him. Yes, by some miracle, if I should see him. But I couldn't control my body as well. I seemed to get wearier and wearier of life until I needed a cane. And then I doubled up, and then, well, here I am now.
And here you are threatening to walk without it.
I will, too. I will. I only sadden when I begin to think of the past. It's a wretched habit. I shall not do it any more. I've decided. Only if I could be sure that he died with me in his heart. I wouldn't mind so much his not being alive if I knew all these years that it had been he guiding me and not my imagination and self-deception, that he is near me all the time, if I could but know that.
Oh, I should certainly continue to believe that he remembered me.
I am sure he did.
I built my whole entire life upon my faith in him. If I should be robbed of this belief in his love for me, ladies, it would just kill me.
But if you could have proof of his love.
Oh, if I could have proof.
Oh, to think of it. Oh, there is that beautiful Mrs. Courtney Page. I should like to know her better. Shall we invite her to sit with us?
Who is she?
Well, the white-haired woman in the gold dress with the black fan. She's just coming out of mourning for her last husband.
Last? How many did she have?
Well, the manicurist told me she had 3. And the clerk in the jewel shop told me only 1. They were appraising her pearls. Oh, she's such a magnificent pearl. I'd love to see her pearls close by, wouldn't you?
Oh, yes. Do invite her over. I'd like to exchange data about husbands. Is she down here alone?
Well, they say she came alone, but I've noticed her on the beach with one man and then in a wheelchair with another. She's alone now, though, and evidently looking for a place to sit. Call her over, Agnes.
Oh, but I don't know her, Phoebe. You call her.
Don't you know her, Mrs. Payne Dexter?
Well, I might pretend to. How do you do?
Mrs. Courtney Page enters. She is light-haired and about 60, but she has a dash in her manner and her figure is stunning. She is the type that can be a vampire at any age. Her jewels are pearls, ropes of pearls. She carries a black feather fan and a black velvet bag.
How do you do? You must pardon me, I don't recall the name.
Oh, Mrs. Payne Dexter of New York. Oh, don't tell me, Mrs. Courtney Page, that you have forgotten me.
Oh, Mrs. Payne Dexter, yes, a name so well known. We met, I remember, exactly 5 years ago at the opera. Your box was next to the carols. My husband and I were visiting on a late wedding trip when we were in New York.
Why, yes, of course. How clever of you to remember. My friends, Mrs. Dorchester, Mrs. Blanchard.
Oh, how do you do? Won't you sit down?
Oh, yes, thank you. I have noticed you, Mrs. Blanchard. Your cane?
Oh, thank you.
Mrs. Dorchester and I have been spending the season in Palm Beach. Mrs. Dorchester is a native of Long Island.
And I came down from St. Louis and had the good fortune to become acquainted with them personally. Oh, I have always known of Mrs. Payne Dexter, by reputation, of course.
Blanchard of St. Louis. The name is familiar.
My daughter, she married the Duke of Cabray.
Oh, yes, but just recently. It seems to me I saw that name somewhere recently.
No doubt you did. I am celebrating my divorce.
I think she has a great deal of courage to face the world alone voluntarily.
It is rejuvenating to feel so marvelously free.
She is quite right. Why should women remain in bondage when there is at every turn a new chance for a better alliance?
Oh, good gracious. Do you believe me capable of marrying at my age?
Why not? A woman can marry any man she wants.
Oh, the man may get the woman he wants. Henry kept insisting until I married him. But I don't think it's the other way around. Do you, Phoebe?
I don't know. I worked very hard for Thomas, but I got him.
I haven't any opinion. The only one I wanted, I met only when it was too late.
What do you mean by too late?
Oh, after I was married to someone else.
But now you are divorced.
Oh, it's too late now. My romance was many decades ago.
Do you really think a woman can marry any man she wants?
I've proved it. I was engaged 3 times, married once widowed, and now I have another fiancé. Isn't that proof?
Oh, you sure are. If you will pardon my frankness, a very handsome woman, Mrs. Courtney Page. Such attractions would not require much further effort on your part.
Thank you. But there is a science about attracting love as there is about everything else. There hasn't been a moment in my life when I haven't been in love.
It's impossible. There aren't enough people in the world for that.
Oh, yes, there are. As long as you hold the thought of love, you will find those you can love. And as long as you love, it will attract it in return.
Where is your home now, Mrs. Courtney Page?
Chicago, but I was born in San Francisco. I was Emily Tarden.
Emily Tarden? You don't mean it. Are you truly? Oh, my goodness. Why, it seems like only yesterday when all the magazines were covered with full of your photographs, the most beautiful debutante in all the Western coast.
They did make a fuss about it when I became engaged to Harlow Bingham. I was only 18 then, and when I look back and think what a marvelous career I could have had with Harlow, well, you know, he died before we were married. An accident, horse racing. But he gave me my first pearls.
Oh, magnificent pearls.
I've scarcely been able to take my eyes off of them.
This strand, the shortest and the smallest, was given to me by Harlow Bingham upon our engagement. He gave me a solitaire too, but the pearls were a gift of thanks because I had given up the desire to go on the stage to marry him.
Oh, did you want to be an actress?
I've wanted nothing more all of my life.
Oh, you would have made a very good one too.
No, my family opposed me, as all families do.
They did in those days.
Yes.
So I had to give up the idea of acting on the stage.
But it is evident that she has been acting in real life ever since.
Oh my goodness, look. It's that man who was trying to flirt with me at the tea dance in the Grove.
Don't you know who that is?
No.
That's Beverly Strawn, our bestseller novelist.
Oh, gracious, hide me. Oh my goodness. He must have been picking me out for the Dowager mother-in-law in his next novel. Oh.
Did you marry Mr. Courtney Page after Mr. What's his name died, your first fiancé?
No, I became engaged to Philip Harlow, an Englishman I met in Egypt. He was on his way to South Africa. He'd been in diplomatic service in India and had been transferred. He bought me the second strand, the second largest and longest, from India. He went ahead to South Africa to prepare a home, intending to come back for me, but he died of fever and we were never married.
Oh, how thrillingly tragic.
I could not have endured it.
Me either.
And the other strands, you have 2 more?
This third strand was the gift of my late husband, Mr. Courtney Page. I would not let him give them to me until after we were married.
That was a wise precaution. They say pearls mean tears.
It is surprising that he risked giving you pearls at all.
He felt he had to because he was jealous of the others. Of course, I couldn't throw the others away. They were so beautiful and so costly.
Actually not.
So he finally purchased a strand in Vienna, larger and longer than the other.
And then did he die too?
Oh, no. Mr. Courtney Page was the third man I was engaged to, but the only one I married. He died scarcely a year ago.
Will you take a life preserver? I ate something tonight that did not agree with me.
Thank you.
Mrs. Blanchard?
Oh, no, thanks, but thank you, really. I don't need them anymore since I am taking the new diet.
What is your new diet?
Nuts, fruit, no meat, no hot vegetables, no coffee, and no tea.
Have you stopped eating altogether?
Oh, only fruits and nuts. I feel as light as a feather. In another day, I shall throw away this stick.
You said in another week you would throw it away.
Oh, be careful. Don't take risks.
The book says we must not have negatives in our mind. I tell you, if I have enough faith, I shall walk.
Oh, the book.
Truth and youth.
Oh. Let me see. Oh, my goodness. Truth and youth. Oh, the average man and woman of middle age chooses a comfortable chair and settles down into it with the thought that life is finished and it is necessary to await the end. Women do this more than men. When women see their little children grow into manhood and independent of them, they feel that their use in life is over. Nothing is more untrue. The grandmother is a free woman.
A moment, Phoebe, a moment. Excuse me. What did you say the name of the woman in jet walking with the aviator? Did she fly down with him from New York?
That's Hilda Dane, one of the Follies. They say she has her face insured when she's on the beach.
Well, I tell you, I have never seen her face. She paints it up with whitewash and her lips are thick with red paint. Yesterday on the beach, she wore a lemon-colored woolen cape with a big sable collar and every diamond that had been given to her.
Is she married to the aviator?
Don't ask absurd questions, Agnes. The grandmother is a free woman. She has a new youth. She has the vision of experience with which to experiment for greater wisdom. Agnes, you must read this book. It will stir you up. Your mind is getting to be like wool.
I have always been more domestic than you, Phoebe.
Domestic? Haven't I done my share? Haven't I run a house in New York, a house in Newport, a house in London, apartments in Paris? I even had a palace once in Venice. No, it is not domesticity that is making you old. It is mental lethargy.
That is the worst enemy to youth, mental lethargy. I refuse to have it.
Mrs. Dorchester doesn't live for herself anymore. When she is at home, she is a slave to her grandchildren. When she is away, she can scarcely take time from the wool to look at a coconut grove.
I can look without knitting. And I also can knit without looking.
But I am more selfish. I let my children and grandchildren alone. As long as they are not starving, it is no business of mine to live for them. I do not spend my evenings knitting baby socks. I have my opera box. I give dinner parties and entertain distinguished foreign visitors. I have my club committees, my charities, and I am studying art to be able to add to my husband's collection of paintings as a memorial to him. And I am taking up Spanish because I am planning to spend the next season in Buenos Aires. But you, Agnes, you make your children dependent upon you. You are always nursing some grandchild through something.
But when they are ill, I must help them.
Think you must, because they let you think it, because they don't want to hurt your feelings by letting you know they don't need you. You take care of a grandchild so its own mother can go and play bridge. You save your son a nurse's bill so he can spend money playing polo at the country club.
But it isn't a happy thought not to be needed.
You were telling us about your pearls, Mrs. Courtney Page. I just have to say, it's an exquisite pleasure to look upon them.
This fourth strand, the largest and longest, was the gift of my new fiance. I am down here waiting for time to pass, and we shall be married as soon as the time seems correct.
Oh, there is Mrs. Wallace Morris in another gown. And without a petticoat again.
I think she does wear one.
Aren't you lucky to find a fiancé again? I'm afraid I couldn't bring myself to care for any man as much as I have cared for the one in the past.
Nor I.
Men aren't worth bothering about.
I was so lost without marriage companionship that when I was in Paris last autumn, I picked out the most eligible man I could find. He is quite old, but very nice and has valuable mines in Australia.
Is he a Frenchman?
No, an American. But he hasn't been in this country since he was sent to the American legation in China. He's had an exciting life. He was taken prisoner in the Boxer Rebellion and was reported missing for years, but a faithful Chinese servant smuggled him to Australia.
Your fiancé, his name?
Oliver Trent, president of the Australia...
Oliver Trent! Did you say Oliver Trent?
Why, wasn't that the name of the man you loved? Wasn't that the name, Phoebe?
The man? Mrs. Blanchard, I don't understand.
Oh, Mrs. Blanchard had been telling us about a friend of hers who had been lost in the Boxer Rebellion. She thought he had died. No doubt it is a consolation to her to know that he still lives.
Oh no, Mrs. Courtney Page, I can scarcely bear the fact that he still lives. It can't be. I have held him in my heart as one dead for so many decades. I have lived on the thought that he loved me. He loved me once. I know that's true. But I now know that men can't be true forever. Oh, when he went to China, it appears he put me out of his mind forever. He has forgotten me for younger and handsomer women.
Huh. I wouldn't let it worry me. I mean, men are not worth such lifelong adoration. You look about and someone else will come along.
Perhaps Mrs. Courtney Page will give him up if we tell her what he means to you.
I want my own, not what is cast off.
You want me to give him up? It would be hard for me to do. It wasn't easy to win him. I had to use all the art I have in past experiences to get him. He's never been married and is a little afraid, but I want him. If I give him up, are you sure he would remember you?
Oh, no. Do not trouble. I shall have to bear it. I feel quite blind if I have been struck in the head. But maybe it's just my heart. You see, he and I were very much in love, but I was married and he had to go away. He promised not to forget, but he was young and maybe I shouldn't have believed him. When I never heard from him and the government reported him missing, everyone said he must be dead. That last day before he went, I met him clandestinely in the park. I cut off a bit of my hair. It was golden then, like gold and amber. He took that golden amber and he put it in an amber locket he wore on his watch charm.
I remember. Amber locket from a watch charm. I have it here. I've had it 20 years. Made into a bracelet. My son brought it home from the Philippines. It was given to him by a Chinese servant.
The locket! A Chinese servant?
Yes, the very one you said rescued him. I remember it all now. How stupid of me not to think of it before. But as Phoebe says, my mind's all whoa.
Oh.
That Chinese servant.
Yes, go on, please.
You know, the Boxers stormed the legation. He fought desperately and valiantly. The Chinese servant described all that, how he was taken prisoner and tortured, so he almost lost his mind. At night, he raved in delirium. He called the woman's name, but there was no one of that name in the legation. My son told me, but I have such a wretched memory for names. But it wasn't a real name that one could identify. It must have been a nickname.
Was it Dee Dee?
Dee Dee, that's what it was. Oh, my stupid head.
Oh, it meant dear.
Why have you kept this from us all this time?
How could I know my son's story was about Mrs. Blanchard until she mentioned the watch charm? But now it all comes back to me. At night in delirium, he called this name, how he loved this woman. He took the watch charm and opened it and kissed the blonde lock of hair, and he treasured it as nothing else he had. He treasured it so highly that he gave it to his Chinese servant to keep for him, for fear they would rob him of it. They took his money and everything else he had, but the servant kept the amber safely. But
then how did you forget?
That's just it. I'll tell you how it was. Oh, my stupid memory. Phoebe, stop fiddling with your door key. You distracted me. The amber, the Chinese servant smuggled him into a boat.
Tell me, who was smuggled in the boat?
Mr. What's his name?
Oliver Trent.
Yes, into the boat. And in the excitement of concealing him behind some kegs, the ship began to move, and the Chinese servant had to get off. And in running, he forgot to give up the amber watch charm, and so he kept it. He kept it as a talisman. And a few years later, when he served my son in the Philippines, he gave it to him as a talisman when my son was very ill with fever. And my son became superstitious about it, and he had it set into a bracelet for me as my protection. And now, Mrs. Blanchard, I shall give it to you. As a talisman of his undying love. It is your talisman.
That is why I had such difficulty in making him care about for me. He told me about his first love. He spoke of her as Dee Dee. And he told me that when he lost the amber, he felt she had gone out of his life forever, and that she was married and that it was unlawful for him to think of her. But he has never forgotten. He told me he would love her always. And when I tell him of you, Mrs. Blanchard, he will come to you at once, for you have been right. His love has been yours and is yours still. I think you ought to have these pearls.
Oh, no, thank you. I don't want them. I have this. Excuse me, ladies, if I go to my room, I have had my answer out of the silence, and I am a little unstrung. Good night.
She walks out with great dignity and composure, a grande dame in manner, even in her ecstasy, and the light in her eyes is a triumph of youth.
Without her cane.
Don't remind her.
Poor dear. Poor dear.
Was that all true that you said, Agnes? I never heard you talk so fast in all your life, and how you suddenly got such memory. You never told me anything about that amber charm, and you've worn it forever, seems to me.
Father gave it to me on my 21st birthday to save a lock of my blonde hair. I risked the chance that mine was a duplicate of hers.
And all you said was a lie.
It doesn't matter. We shall make it come true.
But when she finds out you have deceived her...
Oh, she will never find out. I shall warn him to hide away his amber watch charm.
Does he still wear it?
Yes, and many others from other loves. They say he has been a great beau.
Outrageous flirt.
Poor dear Mrs. Blanchard. I thought she would die. I was afraid she was dying. I had to say something to blame her too.
But what have you gained by these lies?
Does she not walk?
Oh, yes, it is a miracle.
Merely a miracle of the realization of love.
But it is built on false belief. He has not been true to her.
Mrs. Payne Dexter, I have never questioned the reality of anyone's love for me. That which counts is, after all, that what's in her own heart. If Mrs. Blanchard is convinced of his love, then that is all that is really necessary.
But when you marry him...
I shall not marry him. I shall only keep the pearls.
But if you love him...
Well, as for that, I will always find someone else.
Gracious, my wool is a mess.
You know, you'd better give up knitting, Agnes, and turn to story writing. You've quite surprised me with your sudden brilliance. Bellboy, you may have these glasses.
Your diamond platinum lorgnette?
Do you think I have to manufacture a love affair to help me get rid of my glasses?
She walked without her cane.
Oh, to stay young, one must love.
Curtain.